Welcome to a Higher Self YouTube channel exclusive video series on walk-ins. My name is Michelle Walling and I love this Higher Self YouTube channel. While you may be used to hearing the computer's voice, in this series I'll be talking in my own human voice. The owner of this channel, Dawn, also has an amazing website, www.higherselfportal.com. You can join her community to post your own articles, and you can also post your own advertisements and a host of other helpful things on her site. Again, check out higherselfportal.com. I'm very grateful for Dawn's service to humanity. She reposts other people's articles and videos in order to spread information to as many people as possible, and she spends a lot of her time researching. You can show your support to her as well by joining her group, by donating, or by sharing her work on social media. You can read more about topics like walk-ins on my own website, www.howtoexitthematrix.com, or you can even book a session at me at www.michellewalling.com. Now, let's get down to this video's topic.
Walk-ins, question and answers. Please keep in mind that it's difficult for me to answer a question fully in this type of format with limited information and without asking key questions back like I would do in a session. However, the point of this Q&A is to clear up things that may have been misunderstood on my series of walk-ins on this Higher Self YouTube channel. Or perhaps some of the things were taken out of context, or perhaps it even incited new questions that I couldn't have possibly covered in such a short video. And I also wanted to share real people's experiences and comments. Please take only what you need and leave the rest. I'm only here to help you remember and to walk next to you as we witness bizarre changes in people around us. And we try to decipher why, and we're getting ready for even more change. But I see it all as positive coming up. And I do not consider myself to know more than others. And I haven't even begun sharing my thoughts on the bigger picture of why this is all happening. So just keep your thoughts positively oriented, and let's get here to the questions. So the first questions or comments comes from Walk-ins 101, which was the first video that I did. And I'm just going to say the first name, and you may hear me shuffling some pages around because I printed everything out. So this one's from Lorinda, and she says, I had this happen a week ago. So that was really interesting. I love to hear confirmation from people who are sharing their experiences. Alien in the Window says, thank you for this topic. I'm a walk-in. I came here as a double incarnation. See, there's just so much to learn here. All right, the next one we have is Mary Jane. Hi, this happened to... I had died for 3 minutes. When I awoke from my coma, I felt this wasn't my real body, and when I knew it wasn't, it was freaking me out. But I've accepted it, and I did ask a medium, and she had told me it was a walk-in, but I'm still confused. I feel I came back as their sister because that's how my grown children treat me, but respectfully, except my daughter argues with me a lot. Thank you for this. Well, thank you, Mary Jane, for sharing your experience. It can be very confusing, and that's why I'm doing this series, so that people can understand that there's something metaphysical happening here, and not everybody's the same, and not everybody's going to be going through the same experiences. And just be assured that there's a really good reason why this is all happening, and it is under our higher being's control. And nothing's going to happen to anybody that is going to be outside of their realm of what their soul is willing to take on or grow from. So the next thing I wanted to share is Enlightened Energy says, I'm an Arcturian walk-in. It took me a while to understand all of this. I walked in August of 2018. Also, I went through a stigmatic cleaning. I have an invisible stigmata. The channelings I have for everyone over the past year of stigmatic trances are beyond believable. So there's so many different reasons for being here and being a walk-in. Gilana says, okay, this sounds like another way of explaining the Egyptian version of the Ba, Ka, and Ankh. And I would say that is a very interesting thing to think about, because there's a group of us here that were in Atlantis, and when Atlantis was going to sink or fall or flood, many of the group went to Egypt and used a lot of the information that we knew to make sure that when we died, we would basically get in a boat, I guess you could say, and be able to move through the fourth dimension to be able to get to where we needed to go. So I just bring this up because after Egypt, the same group became the Essenes, and this particular group I'm talking about are group of Pleiadians, Sirians, and perhaps even Orions that are here in alliance to do a mission. So I just wanted to bring that up. I don't have any further comment on that. Just trying to get everybody to remember who they are. Blue Raid Starseed Warrior says, yes, me, soul contract, walk-in, everything changed, physically, mentally, and spiritually. I'm a Blu-ray walk-in, had my neck broken and a head trauma on July 22nd of 2010. That was my walk-in day. So a lot of people know that they're walk-ins, and some people don't realize that they're walk-ins. You'll hear some more comments on people wondering if they're walk-ins and being afraid of having a walk-in, and that's really not what these videos are made for, to trigger any worries. It's basically to try to figure out what's happening. So Silky said, I have a braided soul. I had a head injury, and I saw it all transpiring during my lack of consciousness. And you know, that's exactly what happened to me too. I had a couple of things that happened back then. I'd say 20, 30 years ago from me, it had to happen during during either anesthesia or under an accident. And one time, one of my walk-in situations, which is a braided soul, a higher aspect of my being, happened when I was playing softball, and I got hit in the head by a really hard, I was playing co-ed adult softball when I was a teenager, so everybody else was an adult, and I got hit in the head, in the temple, by a softball, and I temporarily lost consciousness. And I believe when that's more of a walk-in came into me during that lack of consciousness, and also because the ego would try to get in the way, I would think, and try to protect me. So I think back then it had to be like a lack of consciousness. And nowadays, by the way, it can happen. It can happen while you're awake, or if it's time, or it could happen while you're asleep. So things have changed. But another situation was I was in high school, and I had a girl that was, for whatever reason, taunting me. I didn't even know this girl at all, and she was spreading rumors about wanting to fight me and really trying to make me scared, and I didn't know what else to do. It became so overwhelming. I wasn't in real high consciousness back then, but totally forgetting who I was. But But told my dad about it, and he said, well, there's only one thing to do to get it to stop. You're just going to have to fight her. So I did. I never fought before, didn't know what I was doing, but I met her at a specific time outside in between classes, and we fought. And I lost consciousness, and when I came to, I was on top of her with her. I was on her back, and her head was facing down, and I had the back of her hair, and I was about to smash her head into the ground, and I stopped. And I like didn't remember anything that happened, so I had a blackout. Apparently had a walk-in that was taking over the control of the situation. I have no idea what happened, but as I look back on it, that's exactly when I had a part of my consciousness join me and take control of the situation. So here's another comment by Medic Gal. She says, I think this happened to me when I suffered a ruptured brain aneurysm. I'm not at all like I used to be before 2010. Phoenix Fire Spiritual Wellbeing said, heart chakra opening and full awakening happens usually with transcendence to higher realms. Having an NDE experience allows your heart chakra to crack wide open, where souls can do the exchange and crystalline energy merged, known as receiving Christ consciousness, as it's a frequency and embodied. And in 2014, she walked in. Yes, that is definitely how we do organic soul braided consciousness. That's how we organically ascend. So what else I wanted to say about this is, she's describing exactly the way it's supposed to happen. And even the walk-ins that come in, that's exactly what they're after too. They're after Christ consciousness. They're after healing the soul through heart expansion. And another comment I just want to repeat is that these days it doesn't always have to have us, having a near-death experience. Although, since there have been walk-ins coming and going now for several years, just not on the mass scale that I've been talking about coming pretty soon. Before, it was really almost like textbook when you would have an accident or lose consciousness or be in a surgery or whatever and then wake up with totally different personality changes. That's just textbook walk-in from the past. Sorry if I can't pronounce this right. Siberial says, thank you. This was an interesting podcast. I feel like those you call walk-ins are different facades of your own soul or higher self being downloaded when you're ready and do the work on your shadow consciously. That new awareness may bring almost new traits of personality. Also, about those recycled to source, it sounds so not right in my heart. What happened to them going to other 3D planets and incarnating further? I want to believe we're all going to make it eventually, as love is all inclusive. So, I do agree that here we are talking about walk-in braids, braided souls again, which are different aspects of your own soul or higher self being downloaded and joining you. So that's usually the original soul stays and a walk-in gets braided. And then that can also cause new traits of personality. And the recycled to source, that's the part of the all of the negative ego aspects created from the illusion of separation and the created through the vibration of fear. So that part we're transmuting those back to source, whether we are the source or whether it was another lifetime of ours or whether we're transmuting it for the collective. So what happened with them going to another 3D planets to incarnate further? That's still happening as well. And so yes, we are all going to make it because The goal here is unity for everyone who's actually experiencing the earth to be able to do so in a unity vibration, meaning that we are all going to experience the same or close to the same frequency, while also being able to for our experience, but also being able to have multidimensional consciousness at the same time. Amanda says, I certainly had a braided soul experience last year around the end of 2019. Within a few days, I felt like I saw things differently. I knew that 2020 would be a year of truths that would wake up many others. So she says more, but I didn't copy all of it down. So thank you so much for your comment. Claire says, do you always know you're a walk-in, or is it something that you sometimes figure out later? And I reply, no, you don't always know until you keep raising your consciousness and frequency, and then at a point you begin to remember, which is coming soon for many walk-ins. And also, not everybody has a walk-in, unless, obviously you do if it's your braided higher self coming in and joining you. So Angel says, they were the deliverers of karma. The light needs pain to evolve. Peace. And I'm not sure exactly what she's referring to, but I do agree that there is a plan, and it involves the light needing pain to evolve. So I just thought it was a very interesting comment. Probably not one that we can address here completely. Goddess Yoli says, so let me get it right. Our soul is in our body. Okay, I get that much. But for the walk-in to walk in, our soul will have to go. Okay, is that death to our soul? Then where do our souls go if it is not death? Yes, I need a vacation. I would love to have a walk-in so I can take that vacation. But a walk-in will have a lot to do to walk into my life. And there's much more to that, but I just wanted to reply that the soul never dies. It just keeps moving on to another reality and experience. The oversoul is the higher guidance, always watching, following, and guiding the soul. And the higher self is really the one that makes the decision about whether the soul needs to leave or not. And so if you're still here, there's a really good reason why you're still here. And then she further asks, okay, what if the walk-ins do not succeed? Will there be help? Who will be there to help the walk-ins? I just wanted to reply to that, saying that if a walk-in doesn't succeed, it literally just pops back out, and maybe we'll try again, and maybe you'll try again. And what they don't want to do is to overload the physical body and cause it to obviously physically expire or cause harm to the body. Sometimes it's just not a good match. So who will be there to help the walk-ins? I think that's what a lot of us are here to help with. And then there's also higher dimensional beings and the oversoul and other higher selves that are actually assisting. We are overcrowding this dimension. She says we are overcrowding this dimension or Earth with almost 8 billion humans. We have aliens here too, more overcrowding. Now the walk-ins will be walking in doing more overcrowding within our bodies. She's asking this. Yet the world is still the same. Y'all, I'm just trying to make sense, that's all. And I totally understand. And what I would say about that is that, remember, what I was saying is that approximately 2/3 of the souls aren't embodied soul. 2/3 of the humans are not embodied souls. So it's not really that we have that many souls here. We don't have 8 billion complete embodied souls here at this time. That is the goal, though. And we're not really overcrowded. We're just not using Earth in the most effective way, as in being in balance with nature, and our communities are out of balance and everything has been out of balance. But the whole goal of the walk-in soul group that's coming is to bring the right frequency that will bring balance and healing. So let's see. Also, I wanted to reply that many have already walked out in order for a mass amount of souls to walk in and actually finish their earth debts so they can move forward. A very important thing to remember is, why would a soul even come in at this time? It's either to help or to pay their earth debts, or what some people call karma, so that they can finally move on. Because the only place that you can balance that is, if you had another lifetime on earth and there was something that wasn't left completed, the only way you can do that is to complete it. So some souls are coming in, are walking in, being able to make an agreement and have a soul exchange with another being, or to balance what they needed to balance, and then that they'll end up, maybe walking out, or some of them will decide to stay here and be a part of the new earth. Sharon says, I had a walk-in about 3 years ago. I was sitting outside at night and something hit my third eye from the outside and it lit up my whole chakra system. I was living a beautiful, happy life in San Diego at the time. I started having past life memories, and my walk-in couldn't handle how my life was being lived. I was working in a restaurant, and the walk-in was an animal guardian. I couldn't do my job anymore. My life flipped upside down, and I ended up moving back to Massachusetts, which I swore I would never do. I ended up on land where native tribes used to inhabit, and the mob used as a dumping ground. I'd never done energy work, but I started clearing the land and gritting with crystals. I started seeing different beings being projected from my third eye. Then one day, recently, it all stopped. I think it walked out. I truly don't quite know if it was a walk-in or awakening my original soul, but the urge to do protective energy work suddenly stopped. Yesterday I was doing pendulum work and I was told I'm a higher consciousness here to experience now. I was also really understanding what the Supreme Creator is, the intelligence that it is. Well, that's a very nice thing to share with us, and I really appreciate that. And I appreciate the work that you've done. And it doesn't really matter if you had a walk-in that did the work and then walked out, or if it braided with you and decided to stay. It was really cool work, and a lot of that just shows that so many people have individual things and reasons as to why they're here, and not everybody, will experience the same thing at all. So Nix says, so what if the shot takes people out of their soul connection, kind of makes them a zombie? But what if, rather than being occupied by negative soul, the higher consciousness comes in? So then more people will truly be fully awakened, where the negative plan turns out to be a massive twist. And I just wanted to bring this comment up as someone else saying it, not necessarily me, because that's a really good what if there to think about. And I just want to encourage everyone, I can't actually say everything that I think, or else, they would take other people's YouTube channels down that repeat what I say. Also, it's not my place to say these things. There's a lot of things that actually, when you actually come to the conclusion yourself, it actually opens up doors for you. So, it isn't up to people like me to actually say everything that I think or that I see, because some things are just left for other people to realize themselves. And, nobody actually knows everything. Nobody actually knows the whole truth until we actually unlock that next door, which is our cosmic gateway, which has records, Akashic records, and you have to deserve yourself to be able to get to that. And I believe that that's what's coming for I mean, some people already have completed that level. Maybe they've even walked out because they did everything they needed to do, and they got their cosmic records, and they remembered what the next step was, and they walked out and let the body be used for someone else that needs to do the same thing. So that's the beauty of these bodies, is they hold our personal Akashic records, and then as we raise our consciousness and we are able to kind of graduate to the next level would be maybe our solar records, and then the next level would be our galactic records, and the next level is the universal mind records. And that pretty much is ascension. It's basically merging with those levels and unlocking those doors and getting the rights to know and remember again everything of who we are and what has happened and where we are and what the universal mind is. Anna says, a walk-in may also be consciousness coming in, such as Christ consciousness, more of higher consciousness in the body. And I just wanted to just simply say, yep, that is definitely the plan. McGraw says, would it be a crazy thing to suggest or ask if this can happen to you on somewhat a frequent basis? Every few months or so, I wake up with a familiar yet distinct type of exhaustion, as if I've been running a marathon all night long. There could be a lot of reasons for that. Basically, you could be transmuting parallel lives, past lives. You could be integrating parts of yourself. You could be breaking through the blocks, the energetic blocks, basically balancing your own karma. Or another way to look at karma is your energetic debt, that what happens on earth stays on earth type thing. But I also want to look at, because see, this is like, I would have to ask more questions, but I would like to comment and say that I've myself, yes, it can happen on a frequent basis. Over my life, I intuited that I have had probably 10 different soul braids come in. I mentioned 2 of them earlier. And then as I woke up, obviously, around, I call waking up, as I began to become more conscious as an awakened being in the year 2010, I do believe that I had at least 8 more different aspects, higher aspects of me, walk in and join me as a soul braid. I'm not sure if that's what's happening to you, but I just wanted to comment on that, and I thank you for your question. Jody says, is anybody else having experience with spiritual visitors coming to see you while you slept just days prior to a walk-in taking place? I did, 2 nights in a row. A room full of people I didn't know, yet I sensed they were they were family somehow. One came over and sat on the edge of my bed, and we talked all night for 2 nights. I remember the experience, but have absolutely zero recall of what we talked about. Maybe the conversation was the original soul before the accident, and I am the walk-in. Mind-blowing. Well, Jody, that is very mind-blowing and very cool, and not quite unusual. Some people are gifted with the memories of the actual event, although maybe not right now the details, because again, that's another level that is going to come as we remember everything, or whatever we need to know at this point is what's given to us. And I would say that your multidimensional aspects are actually your guides and are merging with you, because you are them and they are you, and you're actually reestablishing the bridge between all of your multidimensional aspects. So you go, girl. Good job. And it probably just happened to you because it was time. Laura says, I don't believe it's a walk-in. I believe it's another aspect of the soul, because the Creator made it where we can reincarnate and be born into another body through a baby. It's not another soul leaving, another one coming in. It just makes no sense. Sorry, that's just how I see it. And I understand what you're saying, and it would be hard to fathom if you were still here that it would be a walk-in situation, because obviously your soul wouldn't be here describing it. your soul would be gone and another one would be here. So it's not really for you to understand or to know about the walkout soul exchange, especially if you're an original soul and you're a higher braided aspect, and you keep having, higher braids coming in and your consciousness keeps raising. We just have to use labels here so that we can understand the process from all directions. So I didn't mean to cause any more confusion, because I could talk about this for days and days and days, and I do actually talk in depth with people who need to book a session. Either they are a walk-in, or they've noticed that someone close to them is a walk-in, and they're actually maybe living with that person and they need tips on how to deal with things. So we have to look at them from all the different perspectives. It's not just one way or another, and no people are completely alike. Jody says, I believe I'm a walk-in. It explains a lot. 34 years ago, I miraculously survived with an 87% carbon monoxide poisoning without suffering any permanent damage. Once I came out of the 15-hour coma, I just wanted to go home. The doctors could not explain how I survived and without any brain damage. A couple of years ago, I had gone to have a psychic reading when she told me I was a walk-in, and I looked it up when I got home. Thank you so much, Jody, for sharing your confirmation experience on being a walk-in. Goddess Yoli also had commented, I feel like we all were tricked, lied to, and manipulated to come into this world. And I wanted to read your comment, because I believe that's a yes and a no. It depends on your perspective, and I would just like to say that on one level, we knew we were going to be tricked, lied to, and manipulated. On another level, we actually created the whole plan of that. And on another level, here we are, the ones that forgot about the plan and forgot about being volunteering to do that, or knowing that we would be a part of that which we created. So, depends on what perspective you're looking at it from. Just you've got to let go of any they doing anything to us at this point. When you start remembering exactly what happened, it'll make a lot more sense to you. So Catherine, she's a very interesting lady, and I really appreciate her comments. She says, greetings, I'm a walk-in. Due to a devastating car accident that happened a long time ago, I should have not survived it. I only came out with a chipped bone underneath my right eye. It took me a long time to figure out who I was. My soul is highly energized, as I've been through some very bad experiences and came through my life mostly on my own. There are thousands of walk-ins around the world. We must honor the original contract of the previous soul. Our energy keeps these bodies alive to continue on to assist humanity to raise their vibrational frequencies for those who choose to ascend up to 5D. My old soul was weak and could not have stood up to some of the abuse that I took throughout my lifetime. I am very compassionate and loving, but I'm having a problem because my family, friends, and most people in general stay away from me, mostly because they cannot take my gold light. I show a lot of love to others, but rarely receive love back. I now stay mostly to myself, which can be very lonely. Thank you for explaining to people about what a walk-in is. May you thrive with lots of success, abundance, and most of all, love. She also says, I forgot to mention that I work for and dearly love Prime Creator, God, and the Radiant One, who is Lord Sananda or Yeshua ben Joseph. Both have always been in my heart and soul and will never leave. as I have an immense love for them. Walk-ins are here to help everyone with dignity and much affection. Well, it's just a beautiful, beautiful soul that's here. I feel like, probably part of my actual soul family. And I think that there's a lot of people out there that listen to this and will be triggered into remembering exactly who they are and why they're here. So, Armadas Interceptor said, I am not a walk-in. The soul in this body chooses to carry on powerfully and experience life in all majesty while relishing the great shift in consciousness. I offer my deep respect to the walk-ins like yourselves who choose to step in and carry the torch of the previous soul. So some people, they know that they're the original souls, and that's really cool. Lady Shamara Kumara says, thank you, beautiful Michelle, for explaining this vast subject. I am a walk-in soul, a fractal, you might say. When my original soul finished her work in 2002 and completed a full-body ascension, she left to go home to Source, and I, like a higher version of her, came in to hold and anchor the light for humanity's now ascension. She was given my name Sharmara as my other piece, Melinda, went home. Thank you so much for sharing that, Shamara. Redemptionista says, my dearest cousin left just shortly after giving birth, then lost the baby, then screamed to go with her baby, and so it was 2 decades ago. I'd welcome my Jeanette. Are you saying 2 souls can occupy one body? And I definitely know that 2 souls can walk in and occupy the same body, and I don't mean hitchhikers or negative entity overshadowing or anything that's is not welcomed by the higher self, is not prearranged. These more than one souls that are in the body, are they actually parallel aspects that you're merging and that you're bringing in, your multidimensional selves? I don't know. I mean, I would say that would be yes. And then that can also be, is that the same thing as a walk-in? I would say yes, if it's a braided walk-in, and then maybe it's more of your soul cousin or your someone in your soul family, another soul. Ultimately, we're all one. Ultimately, those are from the same oversoul, but that just gets real complicated when we try to label who's what and doing what. It's just better to just understand the basic concepts, and that's why I tried to keep it simple in the videos. But I think it's great that people are asking these kind of questions, because it just opens our minds, and it allows for more truth and more information to come in when we do ask these kinds of questions. It shows that we're real, that we're actually trying to find out what's happening, and we're trying to unlock the doors. Everything, all these answers are truly within ourselves. That is the gift that we're given as we return back in higher consciousness, and we deserve and unlock these doors that have all these answers within us. And no, I haven't actually gotten to the cosmic level yet where I actually personally read my own records and remember everything, but I have been helped, just like I try to help other people, with someone who has been able to read my Akashic record and give me a little hints and clues, so that I can keep going and keep having enough information to keep wondering and learning and healing. So thank you so much for your comment there. All right. Annette says there are adepts, ADEPTS, also that know how to leave the body at will and match your vibration and enter into your consciousness to find out your future or the future, and they hang out around you. Some of them cause drama by walking into parents as narcissistic personality or Jezebel spirits to cause mayhem and split up or shatter the self instead of being whole. These beings are heralded as demonic beings or mischievous spirits or lower astrals from the fourth dimension or the dream state reality. And Annette, you are absolutely correct. These are not what I'm calling the walk-ins. But these are fourth dimensional negative souls that have been stuck here and are actually playing the part of Lucifer or the dark or the antagonist for us. And there's a main reason why we cut off our memories to where we wouldn't remember who we were, and that's so that these beings could not have access. This is why nobody actually has the complete answers and knows the complete exact plan until the plan is actually unraveling right in front of us and we can report back on it, is so these beings would not have access to our soul memories that we've locked away into these behind these doors with these different locks, and that each one of us deserves to actually get those answers within us, as I was just mentioning. So yeah, this does actually happen. All these things that you said does happen. And that is, you know, I hadn't really decided to talk about this in this video, but I will say I'm actually reading a book right now that is reminding me that this is actually the plan. We had to take a shortcut here because we are so close to the end of a cycle. And when you take shortcuts, you actually have to pay for it. And so in order to get this shortcut, what we had to give up or what we had to do, unfortunately, is we had to go through the virus. We had to go through the fun house at the circus, and we had to have this extreme distortion and these phantom spirits that basically are, you know, we went through a period, or let's just say I went through a period where I was being attacked by phantom spirits, by negative spirits, by things that were being reflected back to me, only to realize that it was me projecting them outside of myself into my reality, into the matrix, so that I could see what needed to be resolved, whether it was from from this lifetime, whether it was like some monster I created from having my soul shattered, my fragments, popping out of my body and after some trauma, or whether it was from other lifetimes. I was handling all of it here from all my lifetimes and from this lifetime here in this one lifetime. And that's a shortcut. That's when you want to come in and do it all in one lifetime. Wake up, get your keys, go through your doors, get your information, and move out of the third and fourth dimension. So the fourth dimension is serving as the fun house for us right now, and it's been horrifying and rewarding all at the same time, depending on the perspective that you have at the moment. If you're going through it, you don't have information and you don't remember, then it's horrifying. Once you get through it and you look back and you realize that you and other beings working with you, the demons, the Jezebel spirits, all that, we're creating a situation for you to grow and learn and to earn your keys. Well, then you see the whole picture a little bit better. So I really appreciate you, Annette, bringing this up, because this is not something that I just would get out there and just start talking about without someone asking or someone else commenting, because that's just the way it is. We're not allowed to just give everybody all the answers. People have to reach these conclusions themselves, and you sound like you're really knowledgeable in this, so thank you for bringing that up. That's really all I want to say about that now. It'll probably bring up more questions, but That's not really what I wanted to do. I just wanted to bring a few key words in that will open your mind and open your consciousness and open your heart to realize all isn't what it seems to be, and it all is a matter of perspective. Reese says, this makes me question why I am, and frankly, it's disturbing. I'd rather physically die than change over. How can I know if this is the original soul? I don't want to, yet I am, even considering the thought that is painful to me. Well, I definitely read this comment because I do want you to question what you are and who you are. And, you don't have to walk out and surrender your body in service to another being at all. You can definitely physically die and then change over. And ultimately, until we unlock the codes to rejuvenate the body, there will be many people that go through the natural death in order to ascend and change over. It's just that there's certain circumstances where we've been put through an acceleration, and this acceleration is allowing many souls to finish what they did here and be able to vacate the body, allowing the vessel to be used for many more souls who need to, just like I was saying before, wrap up some things or assist others to wrap up things. So there's no worries here, Reese. This is definitely not meant to confuse anybody or to trigger people into fear. That's not what we're bringing. I'm bringing up all this whole walk-in subject for, and you really don't need to really know if you're an original soul or walk-in. That's not really the point of it either. It's really to support people who know that they're a walk-in, or that they see walk-ins happening within other people. And it's not really, I don't even really want to have to label people original souls or walk-in, because they're the same. They're the same being. So, ultimately we are all one. We're just in the illusion of separation and individuality, which is actually a way to experience and allow your soul to gain wisdom, knowledge, and value for the universe. So separation is the illusion, but yet the beauty of it is that we can still be individual souls that are going to be living together in unity with other souls, still kind of under the separation of being individual, but yet our consciousness is coming from the same place and is made of the same stuff. Charisse says, sometimes I feel like a part of my soul enters into an NPC just to test me, like I am testing myself and learning what grade did I get, and if I don't pass, well, then I have to retake. And I read this, I shared this comment because I have also noticed a parallel thing. I have this website, howtoexitthematrix.com, and I've talked about, in my kindergarten way, how to describe what we're actually in, this matrix. It's a holographic reality. It allows for, where we are in this this shortcut that we took to enter into a part of the mind virus that distorts things and really brings things up in a harsh way to us. And so, I have actually noticed myself looking back on a situation, putting a part of myself into an NPC, activating the NPC, and allowing the artificial intelligent software program to interact with me and provide a reality to me, whether it's in my mind or whether it's in my, my holographic projection, that actually puts me through an initiation or test, or gives me something that I need to see and heal, or provides some kind of learning for me, so that I can work through exactly what I needed to work through in a quick way, which actually is a slam bam thank you ma'am type situation and is not pretty. So, and then I failed a couple of the tests and had to retake them, and that's this repeating, pattern, and some of them are just so stubbornly being repeated over and over and over again until you finally get it. So I just wanted to thank you so much for your comment, because I can't really put all this into words, but I know that most of you that do understand what I'm saying, you get the gist of it. So Paula says, Michelle, this happened to me during the summer solstice in 2018. My guides told me it was going to happen during my sleep. I wasn't really sure what to expect. When I woke in the morning, I was vibing super high and 100% blissed out for 3 days and 3 nights. No random thoughts, just peace of mind. It was an aspect of myself in my body. The next evening, I had a full Kundalini awakening during a meditation, like boom throughout my whole body. You are correct. I am not worried anymore. I have peace of mind and I've broken free. Excellent video. Thank you. So yes, you see how it can just happen positive for someone. They integrate this higher frequency, this higher aspect of themselves. This time it happened in a very relatively quick period of time, 3 days and 3 nights. It was so powerful that it seemed like a boom, and you could definitely feel the vibration. You could feel the bliss and the joy, and that's what we all strive for and hope for. So it does happen differently. She didn't really talk about the rest of her life up until that point, what trials and tribulations she had to go through, but she's basically describing that yes, the ultimate result was this higher consciousness coming in and changing everything. And for some of these big group of walk-ins that'll happen, just wanted to mention that for some of them it will be like this. It could be, in a matter of days that they literally change and are that higher consciousness, that love and that joy and that happiness. And for others, it could actually just take a while for that soul to actually settle in and to align all of the different bodies, the mental, spiritual, emotional, and and etheric with the physical. That could actually take a while to align depending on what kind of damage is in that body that they're inhabiting or inheriting. So it's going to be different for different people, and it's very exciting to watch unfold and to witness without judgment. And everybody's right. Everybody, whatever's happening to them, everybody is right. Just remember that. Mang says, I know I just got pimped with a new soul back in 2015. Past memories are just blurry. But when familiar faces talk about things we used to goof around, and that he finds were some of the good memories, except I find it shocking and embarrassing. Also, the image I project in my head, how I see myself physically, also in dreams, does not match the person I see in the mirror. In fact, it has been quite a struggle for quite a while. And I wanted to just read this one because I just love the analogy of being pimped out. We're all due for an upgrade, whether a part of our higher aspect or whether we are to move on and to let another soul have a crack at earth life, was my reply. But I also wanted to reply, isn't it just so fascinating that somebody can look in the mirror and they are looking at a different body? Because they had a different body before. There's no judgment as to where that soul came from, whether they're a higher aspect, whether they're a parallel life, whether they're just temporarily occupying a body. It doesn't matter. It's just fascinating to me because none of them are wrong. I mean, I do believe that after everything I've been through and thinking I've walked through hell and through the funny farm and through the circus act and through the, the Hall of Mirrors and the distortions and the mind virus and everything, and popped out of it going, wow, knowing that everything was meant to be, and that it has, really been an initiation and a challenge that I had to earn my stripes, and I probably made things a lot worse for myself in many ways through my ego fighting the whole thing, trying to protect me, and through playing the game by passing the fear ball back to other people. In other words, all of the projections of the negative ego that I've labeled, like jealousy, frustration. When we realize what we need to do is we need to stop playing the game. We need to stop passing that ball back to someone else. So that's getting a little off topic, but I did want to thank you, Mang, for making that comment, because there's so many people here with so many different reasons for being here, and it's just so wonderful to be able to have this Higher Self YouTube channel where people can make comments and share their experiences and know that they're not alone, and know that they're different, and that's okay. We're all going through our own unique experiences, and we all have a lot of, of that in common. Dave says, question, when you say new soul that is doing the walk-in or entering, I'm assuming, of course, it's not necessarily new, but just a different soul. And can a departed loved one's soul's, i.e. blood relative, walk in as well? Thanks for the message. And my answer, part of my answer is that, hi Dave, it's the soul is new to the body, but probably a related old soul. In other words, when I say related, don't be confused with like a relative that has died. What I mean by that is part of your very similar soul, part of your oversoul, either one of your higher selves, parallel life selves. That's what I mean by related. Now, that's different from having a blood relative. I'm not going to say walk in, because I would say step in. Because unless that was actually agreed beforehand by your soul, a blood relative would be someone, in my opinion, who is a lower consciousness than your higher self walking in. So a blood relative may need an exit, or may just want to be in a body vicariously living their life through you. And I have actually witnessed that happen in other people, and I've actually had that happen to me. In my own personal experience, this was a blood relative that had died, and I recognized or felt them within me, and realized that, that being actually, that soul, that being actually needed to move on, and couldn't actually just stay and try to, ride through this thing through me. So whether that person needs a portal opened up, and helping them through that portal, is actually what I actually did. Or whether there's another reason for that happening, like, I don't even really want to get into that. It's not negative. I'm just saying that there's just so many, different reasons that different things happen in individuals. I would have to ask questions to find out, what the reason is why a loved one, whether they need to be in there with you as another soul, or, if they were close enough to you to actually be an aspect of your oversoul, or whether they just were kind of like hanging out and being all snuggly and warm inside of you, but actually don't need to be there. There's two different ways to look at that. So I did want to bring it up, though, because I thought it was very interesting. And Dave and I actually worked that out, actually, in the messaging back and forth. So the second video was living with and assisting walk-ins, and I have a few comments or questions to talk about with that one too. Jenna Nina Namaste says, thank you for your observation and informed opinions. I just love the way that she worded that. She says, it explains a lot. My own experience mirrors your own to a startling degree, yet my orientation for navigating my awakening was internal rather than external. I just love the way she said that too. I realized that what manifests in my outer world that directly affects or triggers me is my creation for the purpose of drawing light to that which is ready to be healed or transformed and mirrored to me by the presentations of my outer world. I began to understand that I had consistently attracted narcissists in order to learn how to love myself. When this came about, my whole world began to change. About 4 years ago, I started to really listen to my body element and attempt to circumvent my ego where her health was concerned. I did fairly well, but what I realized was that I was insufficiently equipped to adhere to that which is in her highest good in a few arenas, and I asked her and my guide team to assist me in having a clear connection with her so that I would easily be able to live in such a manner that allowed her highest presentation and optimal functioning. So 4 months ago, I had the second worst sinus infection I've had my whole life, and I was nearly comatose for 2 days. I was vegetarian with average consumption of alcohol and hit and miss strenuous exercise going on. But as I recovered, I realized I had no taste for alcohol, animal products of any kind, and I began to consume other things like kombucha, aloe vera juice, fermented foods, and 75% raw organic matter. I drink vegan organic meal replacements loaded with superfoods to ensure I consume the nutrients she requires, and I take supplements. She is very happy now. But I also realize that while I have all my own memories and can even remember more of my childhood now, I have less and less attachment to any of it. I still adore the people I adore, and I love spending time with them, yet I require no contact of any kind with anyone. So she doesn't really require it, even though she likes it. I am more and more at peace and in comfort with the whole of who I am and where I am on my path, so I assume I have had an overlay or a walk-in. Thus, I represent two aspects of your presentation. You had given me food for thought. It is now time to reflect on how my experience with these bipolar, multi-personality, narcissistic individuals of my past may have been my assistance with a walkout while simultaneously attracting me to that which I needed to see myself more clearly. Thank you for your service. Live well, long, and prosper. And I just love that. That sounds so Spockish. She says namaste. Wow. I just love that comment and that explanation from her perspective. And it is exactly what other people are going through. And I would say that that is definitely multidimensional aspects of yourself. And I just find it so fascinating that you actually can separate the identities inside of you as, you and then her. And then it's actually, though, it's actually, and you trust it because it actually is a higher aspect of you. And I think that what you have to look forward to is in the future, as you continue to ascend or raise your frequency, you can actually be you, or you can actually merge with her and be her and see things from her perspective as well, and actually merge with her higher self as well, which kind of goes up the ladder of the chain of the soul as you move towards merging and unmerging with higher aspects of yourself, and even eventually, obviously wanting to get back and sitting with your actual source creator beings, to where you can merge with source and you can be source, but then you can also unmerge and be back to one of your other multidimensional levels, whether it's your ninth dimensional self, seventh dimensional self, fifth dimensional self, or third dimensional self. So this is all things that we'll be reporting on more and more as we, begin to witness and share information. So let's move on, because I could just talk for weeks here. Geo Creations says, being frozen, like how you described, is very interesting to me because I had a completely unplanned soul retrieval in 2019, and this is exactly what happened to me. I have never heard anyone else describing seeing someone frozen, and I rarely tell this story, but I'm very curious about what your perspective is. Someone was guiding me to fill my body with love and truth, and I did indeed until I didn't think I could feel myself anymore. Then every cell in my body began to vibrate so high that I can only describe it as the feeling as dying or being born, literally. My hands were completely frozen in front of me, and I wanted so badly to take my shoes off to feel the earth, but realized they were frozen too, so I just accepted it. Then I saw a vision of many faces looking at me, and they all looked just like me. I wondered why this was, because back then I didn't understand the idea of being a multidimensional soul, but now I believe these were all the aspects of myself from other dimensions, to give their loving support and to experience this with me. Being frozen probably lasted 30 to 45 minutes, and I didn't move or speak to anyone for 3 hours. Even though I was at a huge outdoor party, many people tried talking to me, but I just sat silent by the bonfire and felt like Source was in that fire looking back at me. It was like the eye of the universe was completely with me. There was also drumming going on, and the planets were aligned that night. After this, I felt the heaviness from my heart finally lifted, which was a very big deal because I cried often for no less than 5 years about something very heavy I experienced. And this intervention from the universe was the only thing that made the pain in my heart disappear. I'm wondering if you can tell me anything more about what is happening when the body is in a frozen state. And so I replied, when I described others freezing in front of me, that's when they had a remarkable personality change to what I'm describing as more of a robot, soulless person or an NPC. But what you are describing when it happened to you is like what I recently read about, when your soul family or your higher selves, or even what could be termed as sometimes the extraterrestrials like the Pleiadians, come to do a soul healing on you because you are them and they are you. So in some ways you're stepping out of time and out of this dimension, and you're experiencing something, and then you return to your body. And basically this, what you described is the soul healing that all of us are looking forward to having. So that's such a beautiful thing to share. I thank you so much for sharing it. Congratulations. This is a case where, being frozen could actually, I'm not saying everyone is actually going to have to go through being frozen. You experienced it in your own way. In this case, being frozen seemed like a terrifying thing in one way, but then you were completely showered with love and high vibration. So in another way, it wasn't terrifying at all. I don't think that that's what happened to the person that was frozen in front of me, because it didn't end up being it ended up being the opposite, more of a soulless being that didn't have any empathy or compassion or, any kind of emotions after that. So that to me was probably, that was probably a walkout. And so, but I do believe that body is going to receive a walk-in soul and will probably be similar to what you're describing. That person all of a sudden will awaken and become full of love and have, their heart open and their soul healed. So thank you so much for sharing that with everyone. John says, I keep hearing that change of the guard. That's crazy. I'm hearing that every day. And I just wanted to read your comment and say thank you for commenting and confirming that we are having a change of the guard. It's happening within us, and it's going to happen within every one of the physical bodies that are still left on the planet. Joshua Boo says, hi, he's quoting me at 29 minutes and 50 seconds of the video where I say higher doesn't always mean better or even more intelligent. He says, this video is helping me realize that it's been so important for me to be me, my authentic self. By being such, I help open and create space and give permission to the new walk-ins to be truly themselves, whoever that mind, body, spirit, memory complex is, and stand in empowerment and love with who they have the potential to be in their new avatars and in this new earth plane. Their comfort, safety, and acceptance helps them ground in their energetic gifts more quantumly. And he goes on to say some other things, but I did definitely just want to share that with everyone, and I honor everything that you're saying, Joshua, and thank you so much for for sharing that. It's just a beautiful thing. We definitely have to, the reason we're being told about judgment and about forgiveness and all that is because truly these people are not going to be the same people that they were before. And, it just obviously wouldn't be right to judge, someone's change in personality to something different. It may be confusing, and our ego may block us from accepting them because we want them to be the person that our ego wants them to be, the person that they were before, so that we feel more comfortable. But this will definitely be a culture shock to realize, that there's some amazing being walking into another body, and their personality is going to change, and it doesn't matter, what color their skin is, or it doesn't matter what gender that body is. There could be, a being from a different gender walking into that body, a being from the same gender walking in, a being from another extraterrestrial race walking in. So we must really give up our discrimination of the physical, what the physical looks like. We also have to give up what we would like someone else to be for us, and honor and support whatever they end up being, and allow them to walk on their journey, just as we did when we came in and we shattered a lot of our relationships with our family, because we literally have changed, from who we were and who they wanted us to be to who we really are, as we started integrating our higher aspects. So I'm just going to leave that there because I could talk forever. The Sidewalk Saint. I wanted to definitely share some of the information, the comments that the Sidewalk Saint has shared, because I honor everyone's perspective. And he says, you've got too many judgments around everything you see. You need to release and accept events surrounding you and understand what's love and unconditional compassion that will allow you to see the truth of what happened. Not everything is awakened. And I'd say that that's pretty good advice. I'd say that some people maybe have made some assumptions or judgments by me sharing my personal information about living with walk-in souls, and how I was very traumatized by it. But maybe what I didn't emphasize enough, or didn't really share or need to share personally, is the fact that I set everything up in my reality for me to learn from. And yes, I was very judgmental about what was happening in front of me. And yes, a lot of the things that were happening were projections from me. And what a beautiful soul that was sharing reality with me, that allowed me to fight with myself and fight with negative projections. And I have since learned from a lot of what I did with this person, and shared what I'd learned with this person, and thanked this person for their service. And maybe they didn't even experience some of the things that I experienced. And may have been a lot of holographic projections in my mind where I saw things a certain way, and this other person didn't even see the things the same way that I did and has no idea what I'm talking about, maybe thinks I'm crazy. And so you see, that's okay too. But because this person was such a gift and such a, apparently, from another perspective, such a valuable soul here, this person, provided the space and the opportunity and the experience for me to get through this fun house that I talked about before. So, of course, Sidewalk Saint, what you say is actually, truth. However, I do believe that I have learned about judgment, and I think I have learned about unconditional love and compassion. And I had to learn it, a difficult, hard way. I had to fight with my ego, personality traits, and self, and that which was within me that needed to come out to be to rear its ugly head in order to get through it. And it's exactly what happened, and it's exactly what needed to happen. And I'm so grateful for the whole experience. So, there's just so much that I didn't talk about in the videos, and this is, just obviously to share and get people to think. And thank you so much for your comment, by the way. Asaya says, thank you. This is foreseeable with someone I know. I was shown 6 narratives. One of the scenes, he had a gun to the back of his head. He is consumed with demons. I can see them having a hellish havoc on the inside of him. This is how and when he will surrender and the transfer of energy will happen. I've seen this same thing happen in someone else before, and it's a compassionate witnessing and holding space and not judging exactly what's happening to someone else. And I want to thank you so much for sharing your comment, and I would like to comment back and say that there are a lot of these programs running. The suicide program, there's a lot of programs that many of us are actually here and are witnessing, and you got to wonder where the program's coming from, but really the whole thing is we have to witness them to know what needs to be deleted, what programs need to be deleted. Those that can't break these programs, may exit through the walkout system that we've set up here. And it's all up to the higher self as to what the breaking point is, whether they'll be able to break it and stay in the body and continue to work on it here, or whether it's just too much for the soul and they need to walk out and go somewhere else. And either the physical body will end up dying, or will be able to take in another soul that would like to take a shot at balancing their energy and karma and be able to assist and be a part of the collective raising frequency on the earth. So it's beautiful that these people are sharing. The next thing I'd like to share is Mimi Z914 says, how can we offer ourselves up to walk out? And, gosh, I wanted to leave so many times during my lifetime. Just could not handle all of the craziness happening around me, the depression, the negative thoughts, the negative feelings, the confusion, the frustration, all of that. I wanted to go home. I wanted to leave. And it really wasn't up to me. It wasn't up to my ego, my lower consciousness, or the being that I was becoming. It was all up to my soul and my higher self on another level. It's beyond my pay grade. So what you can do is you can talk and plead and whine and complain all you want, kick and scream, but it is completely up to the higher aspect and levels of your soul and your higher self to make these decisions. Twin Flames Undercover says, I think advanced souls are capable and willing to do extensive work like this. And maybe I helped my dad walk out, I'm not sure. And I would say absolutely yes and yes. And I have actually, really realized as I look back and I see such remarkable personality changes, one after the other, from people that I had relationships with, and all of a sudden, bam, they changed. I gotta wonder, am I a walkout assistant specialist? I just don't know. I'm so happy that you actually, brought it up, and eventually we're going to have all the answers, and we're going to know, why we did certain things and why it had to happen the way that it did. Tiffany says, I felt 2 walk-ins 3 days ago in my body. One walked in and one walked out after I achieved my goal. Strange thing is, right as that happened, my phone rang from a number that doesn't exist, and seen the time 3:34 in my dream. Wow, there you go. The movie The Matrix, they had the phone, the phone rang, and when they put the phone to their ear, their consciousness moved out of the Matrix and back into the spaceship. So I'm not saying that that's what happened to you. I'm just saying that is very strange. It could be, the movie The Matrix isn't just metaphorically explaining that things aren't as they seem. And we could have more than one walk-in at a time. Everything is possible, and nothing is limited to our little simplified little description of what we think is happening here. And I really want to thank you for your comment, and I support you, and good luck. And if you need assistance as a walk-in, give me a call. Jennifer says, thanks. I'm thinking this is what happened to my daughter. This is not the first time I've heard this, and that is one of the, it's got to be one of the hardest things to emotionally deal with, but I think we're all becoming more emotionally graduating in that field, to where we've become, more, what I can't think of the word, advanced, I guess, it would be a good thing, because we have more information and it's not so confusing to us. And we also realize that even though we give birth to a physical body that has its own soul, that soul isn't us, it isn't ours. And even if you are a male and you contributed with your sperm to creating a physical body that a soul can inhabit, it's an agreement or a contract that we made to bring a certain soul into this world, but that isn't our responsibility after a certain period of time where they become mature. And we have to honor what, we don't remember what the contract was, whether, it was going to be for, teenage years, whether, they only wanted to be here for 25 years, or if they were going to be here for a lifetime. So just because we can't remember doesn't mean that we did anything wrong, or that we didn't do everything that we could to support them. The soul, each soul in our children has its own agenda and its own guidance team, and every soul will do exactly what every soul needs for its own growth. So we can just compassionately witness and know that all will work itself out, as each soul has its own path. And even the NPCs that are left here, when a soul walks out, will be occupied by souls eventually. So eventually everyone will be real and be unified at one point in our existence here on Earth. So you may see yet another huge change in your daughter, as if she takes on another walk-in, which would be a higher dimensional soul. You're going to see a personality change for the positive and an awakening. So get ready and don't freak out. That's what I want to tell you. Retro Casuality says, I believe I am still myself. However, I have been reborn. I see everything completely differently and no longer vibrate with the frequency of this backwards realm. We can claim a new soul inhabits these avatars, but the reason for a change in perspective matters not. Growth expansion is the point. And again, yes, this is like the third or fourth wonderful story we've had from people who feel like they've been reborn. They see things differently. They don't necessarily call themselves a walk-in, But this is the result of organic consciousness, healing, and ascension the way it was supposed to be. That's what it means to be born again. The real meaning of being born again. So thank you so much for sharing that. All right, let's move along here. Willow Pillow says, thank you. I had this exact experience with my previous relationship and it scared me. I feel like I am mourning the person that I loved. They are just gone. It's sad and I'm sad. I went through a huge period of grieving. The original soul that I had met, just wasn't there, or was there but was being overshadowed by another soul that was stepping forward to control the vehicle. And I went through a process for a very long time trying to figure out if I needed to try to help this person or, but basically grieving. And, obviously if I had had this information before that had happened, I wouldn't have to go through that grieving process. I would be honoring the person for exactly what they were going through, and also realizing that some of it may have been projection for me in my learning path. Maybe that soul wasn't experiencing any of it. I don't know. I definitely tried to figure it out. I think another big reason why I had to go through what I went through and share it with everyone is so that for some reason, maybe do things and experience things a little bit earlier than others so that I can share my experience, and it will help people either heal from if it happened to them too, and not blame the other person, not judge the other person, and realize there's many reasons for it happening. But B, when we have these walk-ins, this will be a little bit different. With this huge group of walk-ins, it should be a lot more positive, but it's still going to be confusing when people's personalities change, and it'll be a lot easier, obviously, to deal with positive walk-ins than with, some of the things that have happened to us in the past. Just remember that all souls will be okay. The bodies are just vessels, and it would have been equally sad if the body were to die when the soul walked out. It's very much better this way, to where we don't have to bury our exes. Maybe the person is still there, but just not being the dominant soul coming out too. Doesn't always mean that they completely walked out. They may be sharing their body with a lot of different entities, a lot of different souls. So there's just, everyone's different, and it's not really our place to completely define exactly what happened. But if I can share, when I kept asking, what the hell is going on here? And why am I having to go through this? And if I could just share part of that experience with other people, it may help them realize there's just so much more at stake, so much more that's happening behind the scenes that we don't remember or know about. And ultimately, you will get through it. Sometimes you have to go through pain to open up your heart in order to process things, and there's just so many other things that are happening. Marcus says, in 2019, there were several premature, under the radar, don't know what else to say, Michelle, other than I have seen the labyrinth inside me, and I witnessed a grand gesture of mother-father accepting responsibility, and that is mandatory. And Marcus, I just wanted, just comment, very nice. Thank you. We're here to balance our energetic ties by remembering who we are, where we are, and why we created this. And accepting responsibility for our energetic imbalances is a must, thus transmuting the imbalances and healing our souls. Remember, we are here to heal our souls so that we can move forward, and we want to bring balance and unity, and not imbalance and disunity. Spicy Nye says, I've been wondering lately if my daughter is a walk-in. We were so close at one time. Then in 2016, I noticed some changes that just broke my heart. She just suddenly despised me and accused me of the exact same things her narcissist father had done to her and her children. She and I have not had a relationship since that time. I've tried to talk to her and find ways to mend the situation, but she doesn't want anything to do with me. It took me several years to accept this is how it is. But I notched one of the changes is she has become serious about everything. She used to just laugh about everything. Her body language and facial expressions alert me, and when she's really annoyed with me trying to share anything personal about myself. Two of her kids are pushing away from her because she's become somewhat narcissistic with them. Being a walk-in sure seems to fit the changes I've seen in my daughter. And I just wanted to definitely bring this one up because, again, there seemed to be a lot of confusion between what is a walk-in and what could be a walk-out situation, and where the body is now being temporarily occupied by maybe some other hitchhikers, or, like I mentioned before, we may be seeing basically a mirror to show us the mind virus within the collective or within ourselves so that we can delete that program. So I do want to acknowledge the sad situation that you're going through. I want to say congratulations for being able to witness it and see it for what it is, and to realize that you just accepted that there was a change. You know, it's very sad, and I do feel your loss, because I actually, you know, have had this same thing happen to me with, you know, people I was in a relationship with, as well as family members as well. And it's just a part of this fast track shortcut that we've had to take in order to allow souls to come and go, to come in, do what they needed to do and go. And then unfortunately, you know, or fortunately, if the body doesn't die, then until there's another soul that actually walks in and takes over from a benevolent nature, it could be used temporarily for astral beings or you know, for the purpose of mirroring. So just remember that this was a phase that I think many of us have gone through, walked through, and have done so together as a soul group, and that we're about to see a myriad of positive changes. Even though things still look grim, the energy is about to shift inside of every person, every human body, and collectively we're about to see something amazingly shocking for the good. Diana wants to know, does this happen with our dogs or pets too? Please answer, I need to know. Thank you so much. And I want to reply, thanks for the question. I haven't looked that much into dogs, cats, and animals in general, but I do feel that they are a part of a group soul. And yes, that one personality can die in the physical and then come into another pet's body. I don't know if this is, you know, like incarnation or a walk-in, doesn't matter. But I have known people that have had pets and the pet dies, and it seems that that pet has come back into another pet's body. Pets are just something I don't really know a lot about. I'm sure there'll be a lot of pet experts. I have heard that maybe some animal souls, you know, animals serve more as a group, whereas we are more individual, even though it's an illusion that we're individual. But I have heard that maybe the next step for some of the pet souls is that they do get a chance then to graduate after serving in unconditional love to the humans, that they may get to graduate and actually become an individual human soul and incarnate into a body. So we'll see what happens. Tammy says, I feel like I'm sorry. Now we're in the video Walk-ins, the Future of Earth, and the comments under that. That was, I think, the third video. Tammy says, I feel like I'm shifting between 4D and 5D, all while being in a 3D reality! Exclamation point. Congratulations, you figured it out, Tammy. She says, at times I'm so full of love and joy, and other times I feel heavy and confused, this being the lesser degree, but all the same noteworthy. I sit with trees every chance I get and find my bliss with them. I dance, I sing, I giggle like a little girl in this space. Yes, we're still walking in two worlds right now, Tammy. We haven't really bifurcated completely to where we find ourselves in that space with everyone around us real and actually being positive and not carrying the negative mind virus. But guess what? I believe that's coming. It all starts with this influx of these walk-ins, going to take over the NPC bodies, going to help change the overall collective frequency and programming, going to delete all the negative ego mind virus programming, which is actually happening right now. I've seen a lot of it leave. So, is that a simplistic way to really describe what's happening? Yes. Is what's happening way more detailed and complex than we could possibly imagine? Yes. Please bear with me. I don't really, know it all, but I'm doing my very best to try, to explain the way that we're all seeing it. And we can all see it a different way. Thank you for your comment. We're becoming multi-dimensional while in the physical. I wanted to say, I made a comment to my partner a couple months ago. There's so many people that were just putting information out, just being so focused on shifting to the fifth dimensional earth, period. And basically that would be the way that we would have in the past ascended into a light body, and our bodies would maybe turn to light and we would be more liquidy. But I think what we're seeing is like the way that we're getting there now is we are actually becoming multidimensional in a physical 3D body. And then we'll be able to change our DNA and change our, we'll be more morphy. Like we can change our hair color. There's movies about this. We can change our physical appearance. We can stop the aging process and all that. So this would be actually, it's never been done like this. This is becoming real, physical, while having all your consciousness of your multidimensional self being able to experience in the physical, maybe coming and going, walking in, walking out, or completely merging with you and becoming one physical 3D body that has consciousness of an ascended master, so to speak. There's just so many different ways of looking at this. It's very exciting, and I guess we'll get more knowledge and more words. Somebody's going to always come up with better words to describe this very soon. There'll be lots of books and lots of people talking about this as it continues to happen and unfold in front of us. Sabercat says, if you want to ascend, then you will. Don't sweat it. Relax. Let it happen. Here's something good to ponder and practice. I ask forgiveness for all I have wronged, and I offer forgiveness to those who have wronged me. I totally agree. That's a very sound advice. At one point, we will remember exactly what we need to do and act on it. And until then, we're still healing and clearing. And if that part is even done, we are just waiting and holding space and frequency for others. So we're not worried. And it will happen when it's meant to happen, and there's no way that we can force it. There's no way that we can use technology to raise our frequency and open up any of those doors of ascension. It all has to be done organically as far as earning the right for ascension. Michelle says, what an ingenious plan. We could use these covert light beings in positions of influence to help transition out of the old ways. The dark magicians are frantic, I'm sure, since they know time's about up. I'm hoping more of them will turn to the light. So I think she's obviously talking about the plan that we had to have these NPCs in positions of influence and maybe they're not an NPC yet. Maybe they still have a soul that's about to walk out when this grand shift of changing of the guard comes into the planet with this mass amount of walk-in souls that are, some of them are already coming in, but I'm talking about like there's going to be a lot at once, and it's going to be a massive takeover of the positive on the planet. It is a great plan, and I think it was ours. I think we had a lot to do with it. Amanda says, "Hi, Michelle. Thank you so much for posting this video, and I shared it as well." Thank you for sharing that. I do have a question. Can we plan a date when everybody can come together and raise our frequency and imagine the new Earth? I understand that time is insignificant. However, I truly believe that when we are all focusing at the same time, it makes a difference. And I'd like to say yes, but really the plan is in place. It has already occurred on another level, and we just have to walk through the timelines, staying on the straight and narrow path as much as possible, being guided by our higher aspects until we make that strong connection once again with our oversoul and all of the knowledge that it holds. Then another Michelle says, "Michelle, are some of the first, second, and third waves of volunteers exchanging places with the new fourth wave of volunteers? I know timing is a illusion, but when do you see the peak of the fourth wave walk-ins taking place? Thank you, Michelle. You are soul loved. Love and light, Michelle." And indeed, some of the early walk-ins and or the original incarnated souls are still walking out as they have achieved what they needed to do and are allowing the vessel to be used by another soul that needs to do the same kind of healing work from past or future lives on Earth. It seems to be it's more of a revolving door for many souls to finish up, while some of us are really just staying here and staying in the body and holding the old matrix together so that the illusion can continue as long as it needs to in order to allow these other souls to get what they need to get done. So when will the fourth wave of volunteers happen? Well, anybody that gives you a direct date that says something's going to happen exactly at a certain time, that can always change because timelines change. Everything is fluctuating based on our consciousness. It could happen earlier, it can happen later, it could look different than it's actually been described. But with that being said, I know that Jason Estes had said that it would start happening now and through the end of the year, the mass walk-in, fourth, I call them the fourth wave of volunteers. So like I had mentioned before, some of them, it could take them, 3 days, 3 nights to pop in and go boom and ground. And some of them, it may take them a little bit to adjust. Some of them won't be successful in being able to settle into the physical and may have to try several different times. But overall, when you're looking at it from a different perspective, it looks like it all happened pretty much at the same time because time is just going by so quick. And so it's coming like I've already witnessed a couple of walk-ins actually come in. These particular ones didn't really remember that they were walking in, but they had the big boom and they felt the energy vibrations and surge. So it's kind of happening now. But they haven't actually landed fully, but they're working on it. And so everyone still is a little different, although relatively it's all going to seem like it happened over the next few months. John says, "The Earth is just a holographic simulation involving program books being displayed in a display register, in parentheses, forming your field of vision, unparentheses, of quote, the processing system of life, unquote, that, quote, life, the real self, unquote, being non-dimensional, is observing from the place of life outside of the display register." And hey, I totally love the way you've described what our matrix is, what the hologram is, and how a portion of you outside of the matrix sent a portion of you to observe inside of the matrix, which is not real, and to play the game. And then when it's all done, that portion of you is going to pull you back out or merge you back up with itself. And isn't that really what's happening from a different perspective? So thank you for that comment so much. It's interesting. Michael says, "Is it possible for me to let an angelic 5D from the light walk into my body and me and my soul to walk out into 5D to support the ascension from the higher 5D realm? This is my free will to serve New Earth, humanity, and the light. The answer is yes, but it's a little bit, it's a matter of perspective on how to answer that. It's actually what is actually happening. But it happens simultaneously as the higher aspect of you kind of rescues the lower aspect of you, and you both end up in 5D by the higher aspect joining you and guiding you to heal on a soul level so that the heart can open and access the codes in order to move forward. Now you both move forward together, and it's sometimes you're individual and sometimes you're merged with your higher self, and you can unmerge and be individual again. And that is the gift that we gain from coming to the Earth School, from being in a physical body, from being separated from Source, from being an individual aspect, but then learning what we do not want to be, and then being able to merge with our higher self, merge with Source, but yet still be individual and be allowed to experience time, which we're going to be experiencing time in a different way. But in order to experience physicality, we must have time, even though we're going to change the way that we've experienced time. So we could do a whole video on that one too. Sarah says, I've been drawn in recent months by my guides to feeling the possibility of merging them, enabling a walk-in situation. This I started when I was very young, and at that point didn't understand it, and it frightened me, so I shut it down. Now my awareness is very acute and amped up. My body is wanting to cleanse like crazy, and it feels like a tidal wave of energy carrying me, us. It's nice to hear other sources talking about what I feel is happening, which is totally overwhelming, to be honest. Thank you. So congratulations. Sounds like that you're really on your path and on your way. And thank you for sharing. Erica 333 says, I feel I have had walk-ins for sure. I knew it was 3 years ago when I started acting like totally different people, and I didn't understand who I was surrounded by and why. I learned how to work with my walk-ins and not to be afraid of them or angry. They are trying to take power over me because I know it's for the best. I can always tell when I'm the 5D controlling my 3D avatar. I'll say things, behave in ways that shock me and make me so proud. I'll say, damn, that was amazing, but where did it come from? LOL. My walk-in process has been challenging because the old me makes it challenging sometimes to allow the walk-in because I'm not open enough. I need my walk-in to help right now because I have so much to get done. Walk-in, you're welcome to come in now. Oh, some of them are very benevolent and try to get me to do things that I refuse to do. So they know I won't sell my soul no matter how amazing the offer. Never. Well, she said a lot there. She said a lot of different things. And thank you, Erica, for sharing. And in some cases, we're talking about higher self aspects, guiding and controlling your 3D body. And in some cases, we're talking about the little devil on your shoulder that's trying to talk to your ego, and your ego that's trying to fight off your higher aspect, transmuting and changing your whole body, because then your ego is afraid that it won't exist anymore. And the negative ego will not exist anymore, but the ego is still our personality and who we are as an individual aspect, and we will never lose that. We just transform and conform it into more of a benevolent light being. But you'll always be Erica, but then you'll also be merged with higher parts of yourself, back and forth whenever you feel like it, undulating, merging in and unmerging out. That is what we have to look forward to here. And then eventually, if you ever get tired of being Erica, you can always just be your higher self. And then eventually, when you get tired of being your higher self, you can always go back and be Source again. That's really what we're all going to eventually strive to do. But then you would be Erica inside of Source. So you would just be joining with Source and being whole again once more on a different level. No, we don't sell our soul no matter how amazing the offer. Those aren't actually, those may be the negative lifetimes that were us, that we are transmuting, and they're trying to bargain with us, they're trying to hitchhike on us, they're trying to go with us. And really, those are the parts that we are responsible for in transmuting them to where, that energy will not be sustained in 5D or higher, and that energy will not be able to get the information and codes to travel through stargates and go throughout the universe. And because that maybe is the conquering part of us that will not be able to move forward, because that's not who we want to be out there in the universe. We want to be cohesive. We want to be a cohesive unity universe. We don't want war or fighting anymore. Nicholas says, thanks a lot. Would these successfully ascended manifest themselves in front of those who still stay in 3D? I mean, are those failed to ascend going to be able to sense any sign of ascension from those who can make it? Well, that's just the same thing about perspective. For a short while, some of us will continue to walk between both worlds. So yes, from someone who hasn't awoken, be able to recognize and see the change in us. Yes, as long as we stay on the positive path and we become we walk the walk and talk the talk, they will give somebody a choice who may see us in a positive light, decide whether they want to be that or not. Would someone who has successfully ascended manifest themselves in front of those who still stay in 3D? Well, someone who's in 3D can't really see up into the higher realm. Somebody who's in a higher realm can actually see down into 3D. So right at the end, when everybody begins, it's just like when everybody begins to be on the same wavelength, we'll be able to see the light within each other. So that will be an ability that will change for us. But somebody who's still in a lower vibration or 3D isn't probably even really here at this point, because the collective is raised up, at least to 4D and higher 4D. But let's just say 20 years ago, would they be able to see us? Well, it just depends on what gifts that they had activated within them, and what level they were on. So it's really hard to answer your question without asking really what you're really asking, if that makes sense. But the bottom line is that for a short while, some of us will still continue to walk between both worlds. People in the 5D can actually see down into 3D. People in the 3D may not be able to see much, except maybe even notice a change in us, and maybe that rubs off on them and helps raise their frequency and want them to be a better person. And it may just simply freak people out like it has before, and they just can't take it and they want to just end up walking out. AJ says, I've got a question. This is probably the most important question I've ever desperately needed an answer to, that I'll ever ask of you. It's about the spectator beings that haven't been exactly working as hard as they should have. Is it too late for them to pull up their big kid pants and go all in at the last minute? And if the few of the many that wind up getting left behind decide to continue to evolve spiritually even after the fact that everyone has already ascended, will they still be able to ascend at a later time in this lifetime, just not along with the big shift group? Is it still possible to ascend if you find yourself left behind? Well, there's a couple ways to look at this. The first part I want to say is spectator beings can be actually neutral beings here to watch and record information. They will leave when they individually need to and are totally fine, not needing any help, and there's no need to worry about them. Some have called them the watchers, and I feel like they can come and go at will. Now, I think what you're really asking about is spectator beings. That would be maybe people that aren't fully embodied, and they don't show signs of awakening and don't seem to really be doing any work. And is it too late for them to pull up their big kid pants and go all in at the last minute? I'd say nothing's ever impossible. And I would say that a higher aspect of them could walk in at any moment and really put them on an accelerated path to do the soul healing that they need to do. And then the question was, and if if the few of the many that wind up getting left behind decide to continue to evolve spiritually even after the fact that everyone else has ascended, will they still be able to ascend at a later time in this lifetime? You know, time is really crazy. I've even heard of someone walking out, very rarely, going to school somewhere else, stepping outside of time, going to school, and then their soul literally stepping back in as if no time has ever left, thus seeming to be a higher aspect of themselves, and actually is a higher aspect of themselves that has already, done a lot of work somewhere else at another school. So everything is relative here. What I think you're really asking, though, is it still possible to ascend if you find yourself left behind? If you're actually asking these questions and talking to us right now, you haven't been left behind. You may feel like that you haven't ascended. You may wonder, why haven't you ascended? Are you ascending, and are you doing everything right? And just the fact that you're actually here right now, aware, asking this question, means that you have ascended from what you were when you were born. Absolutely, because you're still in a body. All of our physical bodies and our consciousness has been showered with higher dimensional frequencies, and we may not realize it, but we actually have ascended up to this point, even to a point now to where if we were to die tomorrow, we probably would have gained enough value to not even have to come back if we've done everything that we needed to do, and we're just here. Some of us are just staying here in order to hold space and hold things together, and ride the earth through her shift and assist her and assist everyone else. So I would have to really talk to the person that is wondering if they can still ascend, if they find themselves left behind, to know, there is no going to be left behind. If you cannot raise your frequency enough to stay in the physical when Earth shifts her frequency, then you will leave, walk out, and go to a place where you need to go, which is kind of what I just said. You may or may not come back. And then you may allow your body to either be used by another soul or to, it would physically die. So, and then, but you don't die. Your soul will continue on and go where it needs to go to get healing or to learn. So there's just, everyone will ascend eventually. Just everybody will have their own pace, and everybody will go through their own needs. And it may look different to different people. So that's really all I want to say about that. But I just wanted to recognize your question and answer it in the best way I can without having a actual interaction conversation with you and getting clarity on exactly what you wanted to know. All right. Thank you for hanging in there. I think the last comment that I wanted to bring up in the comments was Celeste asking, how do you know? People have asked me that before. How do I know that what I'm saying is even has any meaning or is true? And it's a really good question, and I really don't know how I know. I really don't know if any of this is real or true. I can only go by everything that's been shown to me, confirmed to me. I only know what I know for me, and then I've also shared with you everyone else's experiences and questions and thoughts, so that you can gain a better understanding for yourself. The bigger picture is a real good story, and we're all going to find out what that was and remember as we walk our path. And that's what we have to look forward to. And I thank everybody for their comments and their questions, and thank you so much for sharing this information and for supporting the Higher Self YouTube channel and the Higher Self's website. And so that's all I have for you today. Thank you. Bye-bye.